Today we're talking about the Veskarium, the space empire controlled by the space lizards, the Vesk. They really like their name. Hello everyone, welcome to the Maple Table. My name's Nathaniel. This is a channel where we discuss role-playing games, so if that's something you're interested in, I would love to have you join me at the table. So please hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification so that you know when my videos are available. The Veskarium is a collection of 8 planets and a massive mobile forge. All of the planets circle a blue star called Gaviniska. The Veskarium claims the entirety of the Gaviniska system, and it is the closest solar system to the Pact Worlds. I have done a video covering the Pact Worlds system, and that will be in the description below. The Vesk have conquered every planet in their solar system, and they have also renamed each planet to a number by its distance from the sun. Starting with Vesk Prime, then to Vesk 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. And of course, we have the Conqueror's Forge. The Veskarium is an autocratic military dictatorship. It has a council that runs it, and they are high-ranking military officials of the Veskarium. The Vesk are the main species throughout the entirety of the system. Having said that, there is other species that do exist within the Veskarium, some of which I have covered. While the Vesk ultimately believe that they are just better than anyone that they have conquered, and maybe because they've conquered them, that makes it true. Regardless of the actual reason of why they feel they are better than literally everyone else, the Vesk consider it an obligation to care for their vassals that have been conquered and integrated into the Veskarium society. Some of the laws for the Veskarium are quite strict. Nevertheless, living conditions are actually quite high within the Veskarium. There is only one species in the Gaviniska system that has not been conquered by the Vesk, which is actually quite a sore spot for them. The Zilbreeze are a species that live deep within the sun of Gaviniska itself. The Zilbreeze have claimed to live inside of the sun for long since before the gap, and the Veskarium is currently in talks to bring them into the fold, although they've actually only met them via holo videos. They've never actually met in person. The only reason that they know that they exist is because they found them when they sent a probe to orbit the sun of Gaviniska. Vesk Prime is the first planet we will cover in the Veskarium. It has huge tracts of land, and it is rich in natural resources. For a very long time, the Vesk were the only inhabitants of Vesk Prime. But being that Vesk Prime is now the center of a major galactic hub, being the Veskarium, some other sentient species call this planet home. The Vesk would obviously be the number one spot for their populace, but you will also find large groupings of Skittermanders and Patra. Vesk Prime has a military government, and it is ruled by a high despot, Vindeskeo Swarmripper. Vesk 2 is a planet that has no moons, and it is covered mostly in water. Because it has no moons, that means it has no tides. That means the water is still on the entire planet. It does not have waves. The Ejitcrees are the only native species to Vesk 2. Granted, there are Vesk on the planet now. The Ejitcrees are extremely impressionable, and they accept help from whatever sentient species they encounter. This kind of relationship actually integrates itself very well for the Vesk, because they lead and the Ejitcrees follow. Vesk 2 is a military autocracy with High Despot Blesnea Sobak ruling the world. This world. Vesk 3 is home to the Skittermander. Vesk 3 is covered in lush forests. It has shallow oceans, and it also has a pink sea that was the source of life on the planet back in its early days. Vesk 3 is home to the Skittermander, and of course, a large amount of Vesk. I did a video covering the Skittermander, so that will also be in the description below. Essentially, the Vesk showed up and said, "We're taking over," and the Skittermanders, wanting to help, basically went, "Okay, we'll help you." And that's kind of how that went. To this day, the conquering Vesk still are not sure if the Skittermander have a planetary government or if they're just chaotic city-states running amok. Many in the Vesk upper chain of command view Vesk 3 as a punishment posting. They view the Skittermander as ungovernable troublemakers. But the planet does have a ruling high despot. That would be Teret Kahan. This should be noted, Teret Kahan is not Vesk. He is the only non-Vesk ruling high despot. He is patron. Vesk 4 contains a singular landmass, lots of forests, swamplands, and volcanoes, codenamed the Glutton by the Vesk. This planet had a tendency to pull celestial bodies from space onto the planet. It would pull asteroids or other various space junk to the planet, making massive craters and large-scale destruction. The planet also has very high gravity, high radiation levels, and the volcanoes are all active. The Talfi were the dominant species on the planet before the Vesk came and took over the planet. The Ossier are an amphibious humanoid creature that have survived the longest on this planet. The reason that they have survived is when a various cataclysmic event happened, like an asteroid destroying most of the planet, the Ossier would hide in the bottom of their swamplands and avoid most of the destruction that way, sometimes for decades at a time. Residents of Vesk 4 take pride in serving the Veskarium through military service or through mining for the military. The planet is ruled by High Despot Cam Ilsvana, and she has an iron grip, pardon the pun, over the planet. While she is a bit of a hard ass as far as rulers go, she is advised by a democratically elected council. This is just your mid-video reminder to hit that like button if you're getting some value out of the video today. If you're enjoying it, please hit that subscribe button with the bell notification so that you can get more videos like this from myself. On to Vesk 5. Vesk 5 is a purple gas giant full of minerals and hydrogen. The planet is quite volatile and it tends to spit out a lot of its natural resources into the atmosphere or sometimes out into space. Because of that, the Veskarium have restricted travel to this planet, but it is still an active, busy hub. The Formians are really the only race that can inhabit this type of planet, and while there are lots of them around on the planet, that's really about it. Vesk 5 does have a couple of small moons that circle the planet. Those moons do have life. The Vesk have not restricted travel to the moons. High Despot Kasharkin rules Vesk 5. Vesk 6 is an inexplicably warm jungle world. It is very far from the blue sun, which is why it's inexplicably warm and jungly. The planet's dominant species would be known as the Patra. They initially resisted the Vesk occupation of their planet. Unfortunately, the Vesk technology was far superior and more advanced than what the Patras had, and the Vesk ultimately won. I will have a link in the description below for the Patra as well. Although with the treaties that the Vesk have signed with the Patra, they allow them an unusual amount of control over their planet. The patron nation states are very competitive, and they all seek the attention of the Vesk, trying to gain favor by completing various tasks or granting various favors. Patrons revere music and battle, and combining the two, the success stories of Teret Kahan are used to inspire younger recruits. High Despot Kavadros does rule Vesk 6 from a military base called Command 6, but that's really about it. Vesk 7 and 8 are the outermost planets of the Gavaniska system. They are frozen wastelands. Because they are so light in minerals and so cold, the Vesk assign little value to them, and it's another one of those punishment postings. There is a species called the Kothamas, which do call these planets home and new home, using their native language. Vesk 7 and Vesk 8 follow the typical military command structure as we've come to expect of all of the Vesk. Sarthis Wrathmaker is the High Despot of Vesk 7. Julares the Frozen is the High Despot of Vesk 8. Finally, this brings us to the Conqueror's Forge. While the worlds of the Absalom Pact were beginning to form their coalition against the Vesk in 41 AG, which is after Gap, and because the Veskarium somehow missed Triune's signal that broadcast drift technology across the universe, the Vesk decided that they needed to have a platform for researching better weapons and better ships and a place to build them. Thus came the Conqueror's Forge. It was originally built to help the Veskarium in their war effort against the Pact Worlds, and it was completed in 47 AG. The majority of the inhabitants on the Conqueror's Forge are Vesk. unsurprisingly. High Despot Dantramel Kominar rules this space station. I really like the Veskarium. There is such a rich wealth of history and lore to go through on any one of these planets. All of this information is contained inside of the Near Space book. I have purchased and done a review of this book myself. That will be in the description below as well. If you enjoyed the Pact Worlds book, you are going to love this book as well. There's just so much to cover and so much to talk about. I can't do it all, even in several series of videos, which I do plan to do. If you're thinking about picking up this book for yourself, I do have an affiliate link in the description below. If you're thinking about it, I would recommend it. Up on the screen now, you should see a Veskarium playlist. I'm constantly adding to it. YouTube will have made a selection for you on the screen as well. My name's Nathaniel. You've been watching The Maple Table. Thank you so much for your subscription. Thanks for stopping by, everyone.